Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. Got a kind of an update here on that 84 200 ES Honda. We picked up the big red. Had it in a couple videos. We did a Will It Run video. You probably saw that one. And then we lined it up, compared it to all the other ones. Well, it's not like you remember it. It's not like you last saw it. All right, we just got her home. 1984 Honda 200 ES Big Red, most popular three-wheeler ever produced. Sometimes when you buy stuff, things change. So we've had to pivot on this bike. It didn't turn out as expected. You might have saw the brake job that took me about 5 hours to complete on that one. Well, I decided to go back and get the old Ford wrench out. You see it's blue. That's Ford color. That's how you know it's a Ford wrench. You use this a lot when you're working on Fords. Same bike. So here it is. Check it out. That's what's left of her. There's your 84 that I was all excited about, that looks so good. That's what's left of it. So I thought I would tell you that, kind of explain to you how a bike ends up in this condition, at least when I get it. And it doesn't come easy to me. I don't want to give up on any of them. I want to save them all. But sometimes you have to back up and think about things. Remember, I drove a pretty good distance to get this bike because the fenders were so nice on it. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, we're going to talk prices on this channel. I'm not going to hide and tell you, well, you know, it varies and you gotta, you know, depends on where you live or what the bike is. We're going to talk money here. I ain't ashamed of it. I paid $200 for this bike. And the reason I paid $200 for it is because that's what I felt the fenders were worth. If nothing else came from this purchase but those two rear fenders, I was happy. If you go online, you'll find two OE fenders in that condition run about $300. So that said, I figured it was a good buy. $200, I save $100. It gets me out of the house and it gets me a nice set of fenders, and who knows what else it may bring me. Now, I had every intention to keep this bike in one piece. Even though I bought it just for the fenders, if I can save them, I'd rather save them. I know a lot of guys part them out, and that's their whole plan. That's not mine. My plan is to try to keep them and save them. But this video is kind of to tell you about, even if you get something that's not exactly what you think it is, you can actually turn out pretty good on it. But let's assess this bike from beginning to end. So for $200, what do we get? Well, here in the South, your 200Es and your 200ES's front ends look like this. And I've talked about it before, and I had a couple guys tell me, hey, out west we don't have those problems, and that may be a regional thing. But here in the South, once these rubber boots break and split like this, water gets in them. These bikes sit outside, or they sit somewhere where they get wet all the time, and water gets down inside here. And what you have in here is a gas strut that's got a captured coil spring, kind of like a coilover today, but early, you know, this is early design. And this tube is supposed to have a drain hole in the bottom, but it gets plugged up with rust and dirt. Once, like I said, once these boots break, water gets in there, this fills up with water, and it rusts out the gas tube. Once the gas tube breaks, you have no rebound. Well, once that begins to break down and rust, then the spring collapses and it's no good. And as you see, this front end's kind of bowed a little bit. That's because there was two nylon bushings in here that are gone too. Those just wear out from use. So you put all that together, and what you have is a front end that has no compression to it. It has no rebound whatsoever. So a lot of guys will weld this up and just make it a rigid front end, and that's fine. You know, that's using what you have. We do a lot of that around here. So strike one, locked up front end. But I knew that going in. I knew that when I bought the bike. It's not a big deal. I do a front end swap on it. It's a great bike. This is the motor. We got it up and running. We found out this is the one that had the missing springs on the rotor. You saw that Will It Run video. This motor ran. Well, about 10 minutes after that video ended, this motor exploded. It ended up eating the timing chain adjuster, and I found part of it up here behind the cam, or in front of the cam, actually where the timing chain is, it actually brought some of that mechanism up to the top. So this motor needs a full rebuild. Strike two. I thought, well, I can rebuild an engine, you know, it's not beyond me. And then so I go and I decided to do the brakes on it, remember? And I go and do a 5-hour brake job just to find out, because remember, the axle was completely locked up on it. The brakes were so frozen that I couldn't even move the rear axle. Once I got the rear axle freed up, that was good. Put brakes on it, that's not too bad. It's like, you know, $25 for the parts and a lot of time. I did all that work to find out it had a bent axle. Strike three. So with all that said, busted front end, motor that needs rebuilt, bent axle, 5-hour brake job, I ended up going back, and now this will turn out to be a parts bike, and that's okay. Remember, I only paid $200 for it. I got that in the fenders. I'm money ahead. What else did I get? I got a lot. I'm fortunate enough to have enough land that I can store this. I've got a boneyard, and I've got a handful of bikes over there, and I'll pull parts from it. You know, as long as I'm, you know, messing with three-wheelers, for me, there's a ton of valuable parts here. It will not go to the scrap yard until there's nothing left to it but maybe a frame. And maybe that front end, we'll probably just throw that away. We got an excellent front fender. I mean, in the world of front fenders, a little scuff on the corner here, this thing is in excellent condition. For a bike that was really ridden as hard as this one was, I'm amazed that that fender turned out as good as it did. Little things, we talk about the little nuts and bolts and pieces and parts. I saw yesterday two of these. These are the little grommet that holds the gas tank on. That's the little spacer. It sits right there. There's two, one on either side. See, those are $14 for two little rubber bushings. Well, guess what? I got two of them. There you go. Now, they're not new, you know, they're original equipment. So that brings up parts and prices. And I know a lot of guys want to talk about prices, and everybody that's doesn't want to talk about prices. Everybody charges too much. In business, you want to sell for as high as you can, and you want to buy for as low as you can. And somewhere between those two positions is what the value of that product is. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a three-wheeler or a car or a house, for that matter. You have, the market will only bear so much. You can ask whatever you want for an item, and if somebody's willing to pay that, that means that they see that same value as you do. And if they're willing to pay that and give you that for it, whatever it is, then it's a good deal for both parties. What you get is a lot of people out there that know a lot and think they know more than they probably actually do. And it is regional. It is I saw a 200X, which is just a nice bike, very nice bike actually, sell for $2,000, and you go, oh, that's terrible. That's too much money. It depends on where you're standing. Where I live, that bike could probably have sold for $2,500. Where it sold for $2,000. That's what the seller wanted for it. Somebody bought it, paid for it. So it's a good deal. It doesn't matter if you're not the one buying or selling. It's really none of your business. Not to put too much of a point on it. But anyways, back to parts. So my $200 purchase, though it didn't end up being a running, driving bike, and that hurts me to say, because I really had every intention to keep this one and add it to my collection. I don't have an 84 Big Red, at least not a rider, but we're going to make the most of it, and so I'll show you what we're going to do with it. So the whole reason I bought the bike, I told you, was for fenders, and the reason I had need for fenders was the Chrome Rack 200M that started this channel. You can go back and look that video up if you want. It's in the playlist. My very first video, so I'm kind of proud of that. It turned out really well. But this is it here. This is the 200M that we talked about that had the chrome racks on it. But we needed some fenders, and we talked about what parts interchange. And so these are the fenders off that 84. This is a 84 200M. We talked about that the fenders off of an 82, 83, 84 Big Red all fit the 200M and vice versa. So that $200 purchase netted me a seat and a tank and some fenders and a lot of really good parts to be used for. Now this seat to be recovered, you know, I haven't washed any of this. It's completely filthy, but as you see, everything fits like it's supposed to. You look back here, now these stickers, we'll pull these stickers off. Of course, these were the shaft drive 84 stickers. We'll pull them off. We'll go with the orange stickers that the M's supposed to have when we do it. So prices, let's go back to that. There's 3 things that are valuable on a 3-wheeler. And you have to remember this on every 3-wheeler you see. Your plastics, your seat, and your tank. Now there's guys out there that buy these bikes and strip them down, and that's all they put on. That's all they sell. They crush the rest of it. It hurts me to think of that, but that's true. You figure a good tank, usable tank, nets you $200-300. A really excellent tank, you know, you could get $500 for it. That's a lot of money on a bike that only, you know, costs maybe $1,000. That's half your value in the gas tank. You take a seat, in this case a big red seat. These seats go for $100, torn, needing to recover. Just a good solid base is $100. You go and you recover one and you get a nice quality Honda replica seat cover and put on it. You got a $200 seat there. You can put that online and somebody will gladly give you $200 if you do a good job with it. So again, you take a $1,000 bike, now you got $700 right there in value of the gas tank and the seat. Well, like what I purchased, the fenders. An OE set of fenders in nice used condition, and I mean nice nice fenders, will set you back $500. Aftermarket fenders will set you back about $450. So buying a bike for $200 and just ripping the fenders off of it, reusing it, I'm money ahead. But prices are based on availability, they're based on condition, and they're based on rarity. Some of these bikes were only made for a couple of years. I got a 125M sitting over here, 85, 86 model. They made that bike for 2 years. Very hard to find bike. There's even several groups out there that specialize in just 125Ms. Electric start, chain drive with reverse. Really a nice set of features. That bike is rare. I try not to use that word very often, but really all 3-wheelers are rare. If you think about any model 3-wheeler, and there's some exceptions and somebody's going to call me out on it, but if you really think about it, 3-wheelers were only made for 15 years. Of those 15 years, every model changed just about every 2 or 3 years. So you have a limited run of every model out there. You take a 185. Okay, they made a 185 with no letter on it for 2 years. They take a 185S, they made that for 3 years. Only one of those 3 years have front suspension. I've got 2 of those bikes in the shop right now. They made a lot of them, but that bike was only made for 1 year. The 83 was the only one that had this telescopic shock front suspension. Is it valuable? No, not really. But is there low numbers? Considering, yeah, they really only made that bike for 1 year. 350X, made a ton of them for 2 years. That's it. 85 and 86. So always keep that in mind. How many were made? When's the last time you saw one? In my area, I live in the South, I don't see a lot of 250Rs. I get calls every day. Hey, I had a guy ask me today, you get any 250Rs? No, I don't. I'd love to have 250Rs. That's a problem I don't have. I would have 250Rs hanging from the ceiling if I could find them, but I can't find them. I've seen one for sale in the last 3 years. One that was for sale. I saw a frame that was for sale. That's more work than I want to put into one for what the guy was wanting for the frame. I wasn't his customer. Doesn't mean his price was out of line. Somebody bought it. It just wasn't me. Sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and sometimes you just break even. And this 84 in particular, we're going to break even on. Actually, we're ahead. It's not even about breaking even. Like I said, $200 for the fenders. I'm money ahead. I'm going to use the seat. the tank and the tires. That's all free at this point. But that's it. I don't want to ramble on too much. I probably already have, but I know a lot of you guys are out there, you know, Hondas or three-wheelers are hot right now. And man, if you can find a Kawasaki Takati, I can't say it. How do you say that? Takati. That's not right. Takati. Scratch all of that. We're going to cut all that out and edit in. There are some bikes out there that aren't Hondas. Don't tell anybody. That are really, really nice right now. If you can find a nice Kawasaki 250 three-wheeler, or your LT 250 Suzuki quad sport, those bikes, basically anything really from the 80s, even that Yamaha 250Z has got a following. It's not as big as the Honda following, but it's a following. They're kind of lost, but they're following. So there's a lot of bikes out there, you know. Think about what's out there and see what your options are, because that is regional and prices are reasonable. And so I kind of, you know, make reference earlier in this video about guys not wanting to tell prices. It's not that they don't want to tell prices, is they don't want the comments to fill up with somebody telling them they're wrong. And I've been wrong at least twice. So, you know, I'm used to it by now. But really, prices are what they are, and it really comes down to the seller and the buyer. If they agree on something, then to the rest of the world, it really doesn't matter. If they say that 350X is $5 grand, there's a seller that wants that, and there's a buyer that wants that bike that bad, then it's the right price. If it's $2 grand, that's a better price. But it all depends, you know. It's what the seller wants for something. It's his product, and it doesn't matter, like I said, it's a house or a car. The market's gonna only bear so much, and it always corrects itself. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, three-wheelers weren't bringing that kind of money that they are today. Right now, they are up. There's a lot of money floating around. There's a lot of stimulus money out there. There's a lot of people that are at home, and they just want to be outside and do something. And whether that's rebuilding an old three-wheeler and they need parts, or if it's riding a three-wheeler in the backyard, they're home, they can't get to work, and this is an opportunity not only to be outside, but to kind of remember maybe a better time. And for me, the three-wheelers were a great time as a kid. I didn't even have one as a kid. I was stuck with a go-kart. So I'm making up for lost time is what this is all about. And I've done so in a big way. But coming up next, I told you we got some big projects in the works. We are going to redo my 200X. I told you I had an Auto X. This is it sitting over here. But what we're going to do with it, we're going to do something a little different with it. And here's what makes it different, is we're going to take that 200 bottom end, which is a pull start bike, and we're going to take the 200X cylinder, piston, top end, basically, and we're going to put it on that 200 bottom end. So we're going to kind of have a 200X motor, so we get the benefit of the cam that is different in that bike and the head that's different in that bike. And we'll have the benefit of a pull start, since we cannot fix the kickstart problems that plague that bike. So it'll be nice. It should actually have an increase of horsepower, not a lot, a little bit, and that'll be different. That'll be fun. But the other day I was out and I picked up another 200X, and so I think this is kind of the direction I'm going to be going. I've really focused on the 200cc class bikes, and that's why you see so many of those around here. And here's my reasoning for that. I like them, but more so, where I live is very rural. We don't have a lot of sport bikes around here. 200Xs, 250Rs, 350Xs, they're just few and far between. We had a ton of big reds, a ton of 200Ss. And so in my area, that's what's plentiful. So what I wanted, and that's why I bought parts. I bought parts bikes for the 200 class, the utility type bikes. And so most of those parts interchange. You can take you know, parts from a 185 really in some regards, and move all the way up to a 200 or a 200S or a 200E. I could go to the boneyard and I could pull out whatever I needed, and it would fit literally 7 different model bikes. I'd have a part that would fix it. So that's why I focused on the 200 class. But that said, I picked up this little puppy the other day, and she's been rode hard and put up wet, but this is a 83, 84. Somebody will tell me it's an 84. And I know it looks rough, but it's pretty complete. Again, 200cc engines, they're all the same. I can put anything in here from a 185S all the way up to a 200S or a 200ES. I'm sorry, a 200E. ES was drive shaft. So I'm thinking on this one, I've never done it before, but I'm thinking we could put in a 200E with a high-low electric start. Now, a couple of things that's going to need, and I know this video is getting long, but this is the upcoming project. So if you're subscribing to the channel and interested in what I'm going to be doing next, we're going to cut the frame, we're going to notch it, we're going to clear a starter on this one, and then we're going to come back here or go behind the airbox. I don't know, you start getting into the seat, but I think maybe behind the airbox and between the tail light, I think what we'll do here is we'll do a drop down box here, and this is where we'll set our battery. So our battery will be here out of the way. I think that's probably the best idea. So we set our battery here, we notch the frame in the front. We'll put a 200E and we'll end up with an electric start 200X, which would be fun. I could see getting on board with that. So that's the plan. We're gonna make it an Auto X, but I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it a electric start Auto X. So look forward to that. I've got a lot of work ahead of me. I got a lot of bikes to finish up before I can get to that one. But I was entertaining that idea, and I think it'll be a fun build. But I want to take care of my personal X first. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the channel. I hope you like it. That's the bottom line. I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been fun for me, and I hope to continue on. And as long as y'all are subscribing and hitting the like button, I'm going to keep doing it. So thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Let's save them all.